Hey everyone, and welcome to the Biz Buzz video segment here on YouTube. I am your host, Peter Wheatmartian, and this week we are joined by KZ and Colleen, where we talk about Amazon keywords and Amazon categories. The Biz Buzz segment is a part of the Blank Page to Bestseller podcast, and we're bringing you each of those segments here on YouTube. So please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel down below and follow into the Blank Page to Bestseller podcast on PodBean or wherever you listen to your podcasts. In this week's episode, like I said, we're talking Amazon keywords and Amazon categories. And we're going to talk a little bit about how authors used to be able to game the system just a little bit and how Amazon's changed that. Plus, we're going to talk a little bit about how many keywords you can actually use in Amazon today, and a little bit about how the transition from categories to keywords has been made. Finally, we talk just a little bit about whether or not the change in these keywords and categories is good for the reader, good for the author, a little bit of both, or probably good for the entire industry as a whole. So please, like I said, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel down below. And here is this new episode of the Biz Buzz.
Yeah, so, it's really been interesting to watch what's been happening with Amazon recently. For many years, we've been able to, as authors, go in and choose up to 3 categories, which we all know. But it was also possible, and this was kind of a well-known secret, it was also possible to go back in after you got your book published and request up to 10 categories be added to your book. Did you guys know this?
I had no idea. No, myself personally.
Yeah, for years it was kind of a best kept secret, and it really was one of those tricks that people use to get themselves onto a bestseller list, and not necessarily, it was sort of like gaming the system. And Amazon finally kind of said, we're done. All right. We don't want to do this anymore. We want to give authors access to as many categories as they deserve, but we don't want people to be gaming our system and choosing to be bestsellers when they're not. So what they did, and they didn't give us a whole lot of notice on it either, what they did was they simply said, we can't do anymore, that they would no longer add the 10 categories. Okay, so now you get, you can have up to 3 categories. Okay, when you actually go into Amazon with publishing a new book, and that's 2 in KDP, and you can get one additional one in print as well. Okay, so, and some of this is still changing, so don't hold me to it if it's not exactly like that, but it's pretty close. I've been watching it for a while. So, but what they did was, instead of us requesting to be added to up to 10 categories, the algorithm is doing it. Amazon is it's automatically looking at the categories you choose, obviously. It's looking at the subcategories that are underneath or above those categories. And it's also looking at your keywords. So let's talk about keywords for a second. Most of us think that most people who are working with book publishing, self-publishing, think that a keyword means one word. It doesn't. You can put as many words as will fit on that line in the key line. So you have 7 categories for keywords that you can use in Amazon. And that keyword, a single keyword, could have 3 separate words in it. They don't have to make sense, because the algorithm is just going to take all of those words that you're using. These are the key phrases that someone might search for your book on. And it's going to take all of those words individually and compare to your categories. And it's going to choose up to 10 additional categories for you to be in, for your book to be in.
So you're saying, Candy, that for keywords, it doesn't have to be just one word like nonfiction or cybersecurity. It could be cybersecurity, healthcare, digital.
Whatever. Yes, Colleen, that's exactly what I'm saying. There are a limited number of characters per keyword section. There are 7 sections of keywords, and you can fill up all of those characters. Now, obviously, you can't if you've got 3 characters left and you don't have a word that's 3 characters long, you're going to lose that space. But still, if you put 4 words in there, that's that's extra words, and it works because of the algorithm. That it's all computer driven. We know that. So yeah, Colleen, that's exactly how it works.
That's why it's important to do the research on what's those words being able to be searched, which people
Yes.
will know.
Keyword research is absolutely critical, and every single author who should be doing that or having it be done for them. If you have an author's assistant who's working with you, make sure that he or she knows how to search keywords and how to search categories.
Well, so I guess my big takeaway from this is I know in the previous iterations it felt like the category research was really the most important, but it seems like keyword research now is more or less the big driver of your Amazon rankings. Is that kind of what I'm picking up there, Candy?
That's exactly what it is, Peter. They've turned the corner, if you will, and taken the keywords to a level that they haven't really made obvious as critical. Now, Amazon has always said those keywords were critical, but they've never really pushed the how it worked with the categories to give you your ranking. But that is definitely how it works.
And I think that's kind of a neat change as well, because I think it gives you, the author, a bit more control over what you want to describe your book as. It gives you a little bit more freedom to really put yourself in your book in the right categories, because sometimes some of the categories, while they were good and descriptive, not every book fit as well into those categories.
Yeah, and keep in mind too that one of the tricks, one of the ways that people used to game the system was to take their book and find an obscure category that only has 300 books in it, and all of a sudden you're an overnight bestseller. Well, you can't necessarily do that now. You might be able to do it, but you won't be able to maintain it that way because the algorithm is not going to pull up that category in the future for you in the same way as it does in the beginning.
Yeah, I'll say one of my favorite stories about gaming the system, if you will, is back a few years ago we were interviewing a man who was an author, and he gamed the bestseller list by he basically created a 2-page ebook with a picture of his feet, and he put it out on some really obscure category, and he had like his 5 best friends all buy the book. And since it was such an obscure category, it became a bestseller in that category. And I guess what this change is doing is kind of removing that possibility.
Yes, it does remove that possibility, or at least it changes it. It's not going to stay. It won't stick in the category because the algorithm is going to show it up eventually.
I know that might be a little bit of a change for some authors out there, but I think in the long run, it's going to help the consumer, the reader, and I think in that way, it's going to be a good change in the end, because people will know what books are actually about what.
You're right about that, Peter. The authors have actually been quite up in arms about those who knew about the 10 category request, and so they were, and there was no warning. Overnight, that particular option was gone. So there was quite a bit of conflict for for several weeks, but it seems to have settled down now, and I think you're right that the authors are understanding that this is, even though they don't have the direct control, they never did have direct control because Amazon still had to do the work. Now it's automated, and it's still up to them. It's still up to the authors, still up to the team that's putting the book out. Make sure that the research is done, the keywords are the right keywords, and the categories are the best categories to rank that book.
Mhm. I think that does provide a little bit more competition for the authors, but I think that also means that we're going to hopefully see the real quality books really take control, and it's not just going to be um, willy-nilly, like we said, two pages of people's feet to become a bestseller. And I think in the long run, it'll probably be more beneficial to the whole industry.
It will be. It's going to be interesting to see how the preponderance of AI written content is going to tie into this, but that's a topic for another day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's I think that's a really good overview of the category keyword change. Is there anything else, Candy, that we should let our listeners know about?
Not at the moment. I do keep a pretty close eye on this, so if anything else changes, I'll definitely come back and we'll speak about it again.
Yeah. Well, thank you for providing this week's Biz Buzz topic, and I'm sure that we'll be hearing more about Amazon and the keywords in the future.